If gruesome eyeball injuries aren't your thing, you best keep scrolling. Hey guys, it's Nurse Gwenny. Let's talk about globe rupture. This is a pretty rare eye injury, but when we see this in patients, we need to move quickly because it is an ophthalmologic surgical emergency. This can render the person blind, which is going to have huge impacts on their life. So I've seen a couple of these in my career, and the most common cause is penetrating trauma, like somebody threw a sharp object. I've seen one where a guy accidentally got himself in the eye with a nail gun. I have also seen this happen from blunt force trauma, which is very rare because it takes a lot of blunt force trauma to be able to cause a globe rupture. And so this is anytime you kind of pop that balloon. Now the eye usually maintains a lot of that round structure. It's not totally like a water balloon where it's going to collapse entirely, but the time that I saw it with blunt force trauma, it was a patient who had been massively physically assaulted with closed fists. And so he had tons of facial fractures and his eye was swollen up enormous and he had a huge hematoma. And to get an accurate assessment, I said, I'm going to see if I can pull this open and visualize the actual eyeball. And when I pulled it open, there was a laceration all the way through the globe and the intraocular contents were protruding. And I said, oh, you know what? We're just going to close that right on back down. So if you've never seen this in your career, here are a few horrific photos of some of these globe ruptures, and you're going to notice they're going to have a misshapen pupil or iris. You might also see that gelatinous intraocular fluid protruding out. So what are we going to do about it? Well, if you have a penetrating object, let's take the lid of this marker here, and let's say I've got this poking out of my eye. Hey, will you come hold this right by my eye so we can show the viewers? Okay, pretend like that's sticking out of my eye. And take a fat stack of 4x4s. Is this toilet paper? Yes. Are you going to pretend that it's 4x4s? Yes, you are. Look at my new Trauma X shears, this rose gold. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. So you're going to cut through some 4x4s. You're going to put it around that object that, come on, girl. Put it around the object that's sticking out of the patient's eye to kind of hold it in place, just like you would with any kind of penetrating trauma object, let's say a knife in the patient's chest. I'm sure you guys have done that before. So we need to stabilize that into place so that during transfer, when we're transporting the patient, it's not getting jostled around. Now, the other thing that we need to do is shield both eyes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, if there's nothing wrong with this eye, why are we going to shield this one? Well, it's because, look, if I track my finger and I'm telling only my left eye to do it, your eyes move in tandem. And so if we're moving the good eye, it's also moving the bad eye underneath there. We want to limit that extraocular movement, meaning the moving of your eyeballs back and forth, up and down. So we need to transport these patients to a center that's going to have an ophthalmologic surgery. And that's usually a level 1 trauma center. So if you're working rural hospital and you've got a small freestanding ER or a small hospital, I would bypass those to get to the level 1 trauma center because this really requires very quick ophthalmologic intervention to try to save this patient's eyesight. So I hope that helps you understand. Sorry if I grossed you out with those pictures, but I did warn you this was going to be a nasty eyeball video.